What's going on, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People podcast. The boys are back. We took a little break.
Boys are back in town.
That's right. That's right. Took a little break. I think we were all a little exhausted after getting let down and talking about the letdown. But nonetheless, we're back to talk about the Super Bowl, which is the last game of the season and upon us now. This is episode 594. We are doing the Super Bowl 59 preview show. And we can talk about the game. We can talk about our thoughts on all that. But I want to do it because I know Adam will be the ringleader for all this. But there is some good Vikings news out there and some cool little nuggets that have happened since. So let's dive in.
And we got the Pro Bowl coming up.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, who's going to be watching the Pro Bowl, especially on Saturday, with the Royal Rumble going on?
Yeah, that's an easy choice to make for me.
It really is.
Spoilers, it ain't the Pro Bowl.
Although I gotta admit, I do like moving to the skills competitions. Those are a lot more fun.
Yes, that's way more
and
entertaining.
It's like football game. I mean, why try to pretend like it's something serious? It's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be working Saturday. I won't catch either one of those, but I'm excited to talk about the game. It's the worst time of the year. The day after the Super Bowl is the worst time of the year. I get into college basketball a little bit because I like a basketball school and that's my home state and all that. But really, is the void. I'm going to lean hard this year on the UFC, and yeah. I'm going to cleanse my palate. Kyle West and I have both agreed. We've talked offline. This season didn't ruin me as a fan as far as like I'm never going to watch football again, but this one hurt a lot, and I kind of want to take a little break from football because, God, they found a new way to just collapse. I mean, I think that's the best way to put it as far as the Vikings go. But
You guys built up your expectations during the season. Why'd you do it?
they did it to us, man. 14
I didn't do
wins.
it.
14,
I had no expectations.
14 wins. You should win at least one playoff game. But, of course, the Vikings are the first team ever to not win at least one playoff game with 14 wins.
I was talking with a customer at work before I left today. He's a Cowboys fan, so he feels our pain too. But that's this exact conversation we were having, Smith, where he was like, dude, he goes, how pissed are you to have a 14-win football team? And then he's like, it means nothing. He's like, no offense. I'm like, no, none taken. I'm like, I know exactly what you mean. I'm like, they won 14 games, and what did it really get you at the end of the year? Disappointment.
It's wild, though, that like the Packers, the Lions, the Vikings are all in the postseason. Not one single postseason win.
We'll talk about the NFC North in a little bit too. Since Detroit lost their only playoff game in the divisional round, man, the NFC North has been shaken up immensely. I don't think this division looks anything like it does this year going into this coming season because Detroit losing both coordinators, I think, is greatly going to affect them, and I think Chicago will be much improved by stealing Ben Johnson away from the Lions. But
yeah, dude, man, Detroit, they got poached in terms of
I'm
their
not
coaching
sure about
staff.
Ben Johnson's fit with Caleb Williams, so that's what's interesting.
I heard an interesting piece, and I forget who it was. I was just watching it on YouTube before we started, and I can't remember who. I wish I could give credit. I'm not stealing whoever's take this was, but there's a couple. Oh, it was Greg Olson was on Colin Cowherd, and he said, I feel like that roster has the potential, keyword, to have a couple of wins baked into it because of the personnel, but obviously you have to use them correctly. He goes, Ben Johnson could have taken a job last year. He handpicked this job after Caleb Williams and getting to see him. He goes, I think that's going to be a major signing. And the more I thought about it, I was like, that is true. They had a lot of success last year, more than they did this year, and he could have left, and he chose to stay.
It doesn't shock me that that's a Greg Olson quote or story because that's a big nothing burger right there.
Makes sense to me. I think that if you want to go with the boy wonder quarterback, I don't think Caleb Williams was the issue there this year.
Well, if you want to go shoulds and woods and candies and nuts and butts and bolts, I mean, you can do whatever you want. The Vikings could go undefeated next season. I'll say it, they could.
Yeah.
Probably won't.
I don't know if Adam's like purposely taking shots at me, but this is the off season, so
This is a shot at Greg Olson.
welcome to wild speculation for the next 8 months. We don't know what
Me having commentate games and just repeating the other guys saying it a different way.
Oh man, I forgot you don't like Greg Olson. I don't mind him. He's not
bad.
He's not my favorite, but I'm still on.
I mean, he's not Vilma, but he's not good.
Jonathan Vilma. And, that poor guy. I can never remember his name. He always gets stuck with. He's the only one who saves it when he inevitably gets Vikings games at 1 p.m. I know. I remember who you're talking about. Yeah, it'll be interesting. The NFC North is going to change. I don't think that Dan Campbell is a mastermind with the X's and O's. I think he's the culture setter there and the attitude guy and everybody's going to be here, get 100%. And I just don't see him as some creative genius either way. So it'll be interesting.
He strikes me as like a Pete Carroll kind of a coach, where I'm not saying that Pete Carroll doesn't know his X's and O's in football. He clearly does, but he's more of that kind of leader, motivator of men, get everyone on the same page kind of guy. And that's very much Dan Campbell. I agree with you. It's also, I'm not saying that he's not an X's and O's kind of guy. Obviously you have to be to have success in the NFL, but I do think that he relied heavily on his offensive coordinator to run, that side of the ball for him. And it will be a loss for Detroit with him going to, the rival Chicago Bears. So, will they take a step backwards? I kind of hope so. Being a Vikings fan, I do want to see them continue to take a step back. They handed it to us this year for sure, and I was not expecting that from Detroit. In terms of Green Bay, I do think that they're always tough. They're going to continue to be a tough opponent, no matter who they have out there. And Chicago is, again, man, this is kind of the same conversation we had last year about them. They're making a lot of right moves on paper, and it's whether or not they can get the kind of intangibles together. I think that it's going to be another hard. The NFC North is going to be another hard division to play in next season.
I really want to see if Dan Campbell will have that confidence in his offense to go for things and try to be as creative as he was without Ben Johnson.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I agree, Adam.
I think the defense
will always play hard. He's a very bold guy.
Yeah. I think the defense will play hard for him because that's, his forte, and he's got that, gritty attitude. He fits Detroit very well, but you're right. I don't know, this offseason's already started weird, and it's not officially here yet. The Cowboys hiring Brian Schottenheimer is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Jerry Jones in a media circle because he loves the attention says the word glory hole in the middle of an interview. I mean, take him out back in Old Yeller his ass. I mean, do the whole team a favor there. What are you doing?
My buddy that I was talking to, who's a Cowboys fan, told me flat out, he goes, I am not buying another piece of Cowboys merchandise until Jerry Jones figures out what he's doing with this organization. He's like, I am done. He's so pissed off over that head coaching hire. And then you got Jerry Jones coming out and just admitting that, I bought this team for fun, which, yeah, if you've got the money, that's why you buy an NFL team. But him being like, I don't give a fuck. I'm running it the way I want to because this is my hobby. As a fan, I don't know how you process that.
Well, it's dumb because they had the formula way back in the 90s, and because his ego can't be put aside, they ruined a potential dynasty there. I'm not saying that Jimmy Johnson would still be there and they'd still be running the league, but to have him be the reason, it's just like that manager in Chicago that was like, hey, we're going on our 6th championship appearance, but after this is no more. It's like, for what reason?
Let's be honest, the Cowboys' recipe for success was screwing over the Vikings in the Herschel Walker trade.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But to your point, Kyle, and echoing it, man, there's only one team left that hasn't hired a head coach. I believe it's the Saints, and I don't know if they're waiting for maybe Kellen Moore or Mike McCarthy or whatever. But to have an offseason where Mike Vrabel and Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick was on the table, Mike McCarthy, and you go with Brian Schottenheimer. I mean, what the fuck? And here's the thing, all the big media outlets have said this, but you have to echo this point. If Bill Belichick gets hired and he calls you saying, "Hey, I want you to run the offense," you drop everything. You say, "Fuck yeah, I'm going to go work for Bill Belichick." Mike Vrabel's a good name. Mike McCarthy. We've named Pete Carroll already. Who's answering the phone when Brian Schottenheimer's like, "Hey, you want to come around my offense and let me be your boss?" And be like, "No."
I really wanted Leslie Frazier to get hired in Dallas and be Mike Zimmer's cook boss. I wanted that.
Oh, that would have been so funny. Shout out though. Speaking of Mike Zimmer, he's likely retiring, which he probably should have just did that last year. But oh, that's funny. That's a good scenario, Adam. That's hilarious to think about.
Mike
Head
Zimmer.
coaching carousel and some of the GM stuff. I was surprised that really nobody touched a lot of the Vikings people, not even like the assistant coaches. The coordinator stayed put, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be much of a shakeup at all.
Yeah, it
Right.
speaks well for the Vikings. I mean, I wanted to keep our staff in place, particularly Brian Flores.
Yeah.
He's going to be a head coach in the NFL again one day, but I'm happy to continue to have him in Minnesota as a defensive coordinator. I know kind of down the stretch there was it felt like maybe other teams kind of caught up to him, but I'll still say, man, what the Vikings were able to accomplish with some of the pieces and parts that they had, particularly in that secondary, where you were just signing guys who were veteran players to come play secondary for us. Like, do you have experience in the NFL? Yes. Do you want to play for the Vikings? Yes. Like, those were the requirements to start at cornerback for the Vikings this year. So the fact that he was able to put together what they did for the stretch they did, they overachieved. They definitely overachieved out there.
Well, I was really impressed with what the Vikings were able to do with replacing their pass rush, because that was my major concern last offseason was I don't know how Minnesota's going to get after quarterbacks. And there were some games where they really struggled to do that. But then there were other games where they made life absolutely miserable for the opposing quarterback, and you got to see Brian Flores at his best. And honestly, right now, the pass rush is something I'm the least concerned about heading into this offseason.
Yeah.
That's a
nice.
great point. This is a very defensive tackle-heavy draft. I feel like that or cornerback will be their first-round pick, depending on if they stay put.
Don't forget safety, too. Minnesota could need 2 new starting safeties.
Probably, I would guess. Adams alluded to probably Harrison Smith retiring. Hasn't announced it yet, but probably. Cam Bynum, I think, will probably be gone. Probably take some money somewhere else. I said on the last show, and I remember you said, Adam, that corner was probably the biggest need. They have to grab a corner in the draft at some point. But, man, I still want to see them overhaul the offensive line. I don't know if that'll be through the draft. But they need to do something for the interior. It finally got exposed. And I like that Kevin O'Connell at least acknowledged that in the exit interview.
Well, a lot of that will depend on, too, what Minnesota does at quarterback, because, let's be honest, if they have to sign Sam Darnold to a 3-year deal worth like $100 million.
They don't have to do anything like that.
Yeah.
I hate that word that you said, because I'm like, oh God, I just had flashbacks of the Kirk Cousins signing where it's like, 4 more years, baby, let's do this. Like, no, we don't have to do that.
But we haven't talked to, the Vikings head coach and heard him say, well, we've heard him support J.J. McCarthy, but I haven't heard him say in a while, he's an impressive kid and, he is our future. I haven't heard, definitive stuff like that, and that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
And then you got Sam Darnold coming out here and winning a ton of games. And I don't know, I can see why some fans want him back. I get it. I do. That was a fun run.
I think he can maintain that level of success. I don't know that I trust him in the big moments, and we only have a
But
sample
$35
size.
to $40 million a year when you can spend that fixing up other spots on the roster, I don't know.
Which is crazy, and I'm sorry to anyone that says, well, Kyle, you're just being wishy-washy here and flip-flopping. Sure, but I take the data that I'm given, and then I make an assessment. Up until week 18, I was pounding the table. Yeah, you got to bring him back. And then a complete fucking meltdown for 2 weeks in the 2 biggest games of the season. I'm Team J.J. McCarthy times 12 now. And if that means the Vikings only win 10 games next year instead of 14, so be it. But at least I'll know what we have in that kid, and they can really start to build around him on the team that's already pretty stacked. And straight to Adam's point, wonderful point, Adam. I would rather see them roll with the rookie for the next 4 years and build like a super team. Because let's face it, I'm not trying to transition to talking about this team because I hate the Eagles so much. That is the formula if you want to win. I don't care that the Chiefs have the greatest quarterback, not named Tom Brady, that ever played. I don't care that they have a great coach and coordinator. If you want to build a team correctly, you follow the blueprint of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Get Saquon Barkley.
Get Saquon Barkley. Great running back is number one. Giants, you're fucking idiots for letting that happen. Thanks. Have, like I've said 17 times, I don't know why I like the words ogres and gargoyles, but they just go well. Get some ogres and gargoyles on both lines to where nobody's going to touch your quarterback and they're going to make holes for the running back. Life's going to be easy. And that's really where it starts. I cannot believe that team got Nakobe Dean, Jalen Carter, and what's the other kid came in the other night and made a sack. He doesn't even start, and he was like one of the Georgia or Alabama like standouts.
Was it Lewis Senior?
No, God, no. Defensive tackle. Sorry, I didn't clarify. That's a great joke. But yeah, they have to beef it up that way. And I know the Eagles are very good at drafting, and they've pretty much hit a lottery on every pick so far. But I'm tired of seeing this. I personally have been bitching about on the last few shows is the interior offensive line has been bad for like a decade, and then the defensive line. Although I do like Harrison Phillips is fine. He's not a bad player by any means. We need a game wrecker again, and I don't really classify him as a game wrecker. You know
I
what
want
I mean?
that huge, strong nose tackle. That's what I want.
Yes, and I imagine if Brian Flores is still there, which he should be, that would be a great addition to help the defense and let these outside linebackers do their job. I don't know. I don't want to get too frustrated. It's going to be an interesting offseason, to say the least. I guess before we talk about the Eagles and the Chiefs and talk about everything that led up to this, we have to mention the things that happened before with the Vikings. You mentioned Adam, the Pro Bowl. Brian O'Neill has gotten selected to the Pro Bowl because Lane Johnson's playing in the Super Bowl. Don't care if he's a substitute. Great for Brian O'Neill. He's an excellent player.
Yeah, great for him.
Kevin O'Connell is one of the Coach of the Year finalists. We knew that was going to be it. I think he may win Coach of the Year. I don't necessarily agree with that based on the end of the performance of the year, but if it's a regular season award, he has a hell of a case. So,
and don't forget about Sam Darnold, possible comeback player of the year.
Correct. I'm going to say something really mean, guys. Sam Darnold should win comeback player of the year, or Joe Burrow, or whomever. Putting Damar Hamlin on there for something that happened 2 years ago is bullshit. He didn't come back. He didn't come back from anything the same way Sam Darnold didn't come back from anything.
I do feel like Hamlin kind of took his game to the next level, though.
He did.
I don't know if that's worthy of comeback player of the year, but
I was gonna say, is improving at your job comeback player of the year worthy?
And here's my bias for that, you guys, for the Vikings. Who made a bigger stride in their career? Damar Hamlin going from backup safety to starting safety, or Sam Darnold going from in the closet, in the dark, castaway to 35 fucking touchdowns?
Yeah, Sam Darnold was a joke.
He was. He was a backup at that point. So, I don't know. And there's no clarity to, exactly what the formula is. They said they were going to crack down on, well, it's got to be somebody coming back from injury, blah, 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 but somehow he's still in it this year.
So,
I don't know.
The NFL still can't really figure out what a catch is or what a first down is. So how about we not really worry about the ins and outs of who wins comeback player of the year?
So true.
We have other issues the league needs to worry
we also
about.
got a situation where MVP is no longer MVP. It's best quarterback of the year.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
And offensive player of the year is okay, who else was good?
Yeah.
Occasionally you can get a running back that's in the conversation for MVP, but that's pretty rare that happens.
If Jalen Hurts wasn't such a fucking touchdown merchant, Saquon Barkley could have won MVP. Jalen Hurts stole at least 7 more touchdowns from Saquon this year.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a statistical fact. It's out there in a meme somewhere, but the stats are there. Okay, Saquon breaks it. They get to the 2 or the 1. Jalen Hurts touchdown. Jalen Hurts touchdown. Backup running back touchdown. Blah, blah, blah. And it's
you gotta love when Gainwell gets one.
What? Him, Gainwell, and then there was another running back that was the other night. Shout out to him. I forget his name, but I wrestled against that school in high school. He's from Weddington, North Carolina, and he broke off a 55-yard run. And the
what
NFC
did Philly have?
game?
7 rushing touchdowns in that game?
Just unreal.
Yeah,
dude.
7.
Unreal. That's a playoff record, I believe.
Wild.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
So I Before we get too far off the Vikings, there's a couple things I wanted to ask you guys here too. So we were talking about pass rush earlier. There's a narrative that I've seen kick around a little bit on Vikings Reddit, Vikings social media in general, that there's a pocket of Vikings fandom that believe Dallas Turner did not play well, and that
Yeah,
I've seen this.
the Vikings may regret that pick.
They're calling him a bust, man.
To me, I don't agree with that at all.
No.
There is a lot of stacked talent that's in front of him. Okay, he's only going to continue to get better, and I don't think that that's just being biased in saying that. Like, he's going to get better, and he'll work his way into a larger role with this team. Now, remember when we drafted Everson Griffin, and it took 3-4 years for Everson Griffin to get onto the field and to become a good, excellent player like what he ended up becoming?
Yeah, we saw it with him with Brian Robinson. We've seen that several times.
That's the same role that they're going to go, the same path that they're going to go with Dallas Turner, is where it's going to take year 2, year 3. Danielle Hunter was the same way. Remember, Danielle Hunter gets the big contract extension, and the rest of the NFL goes, "Who the hell is this guy that you just paid? Oh, just wait a minute."
The problem, though, is the narrative when they come in the NFL with Dallas Turner. People were like, "Oh, he's going to be Defensive Player of the Year." When Danielle Hunter came in the league, people were like, "Oh, why did the Vikings overdraft this raw pass rusher?"
Yeah.
That's why when Hunter did well, people were like, "Oh, yeah, that's fantastic." And now, when Dallas Turner isn't putting up monster numbers, they're like, something's wrong.
It's sad that we all have to explain what a depth chart is. That's basically what we're doing, and it's the most infuriating thing. Like, I know on this show, we've been doing this show for a long time together. There are times when I probably come off, and it's on purpose, like I'm kind of pompous and arrogant about stuff. But when it's base level elementary knowledge of the game, I can't help you with that, and then I have to talk shit, and I should get away from, but I can't help it. I'll take that low-hanging fruit every time. If we have to explain what a depth chart is and how it works, you're too dumb for us to explain football to you, and you need to sit down and watch a YouTube thing on this is a center, this is his job.
Why aren't we at the point in this league where people can't put a chip in a football to know if a run was a first down?
They do it in tennis.
Great point to both of you, but I heard a counter today, and this is the part where it's still going to be messed up. They may measure the ball, but when there's guys around trying to tackle, how do you know where the knee was when it was officially down? That's still going to be an issue, or the elbow or whatever. But I 1,000,000% agree with you. You put chips, all you have to do is put like a little pasty inside or on the outside of the ball, and then you have those scanners on the field. It's not that hard. What are we doing?
It's gotta help. It can't hurt.
But can I say one
that's
thing?
Fourth down there for Buffalo. That's
Yes.
something that people are going to talk about for a long time.
But can I say one thing? The very first thing that we always talk about for years now, that for the very first thing that has to be addressed, these referees have to be full-time. This is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Get these guys on full-time. Stop paying them peanuts compared to what your gross revenue is, and get them in there full. That's the first thing. And when I say full-time, that means they're full-time employees. If they fuck up, they get reprimanded. All of that would eliminate the narrative on, well, are the calls going this way or not? I have something to end that conversation today. Whenever you guys want to talk about the Chiefs, I have a pretty good hand, I think, to kind of counter the argument that the refs favor them. But that's the first thing you got to do. You got to pay the refs full-time, and then we can talk about technology and how they'll implement it. But I don't think they will, because controversy means you're talking about it and eyeballs are going to watch.
Well, here, usually you're right. I do think this has reached a point, though, where fans are frustrated and tired of it. And I don't know, maybe it's just in the moment that people are pissed. We'll see how well it actually sticks if people actually go through with it. But man, I've had this same conversation with like 5 different people, all independent of one another, where they've just said, I'm tired of the poor officiating. I don't want to say the game's rigged, but the way the bad calls are making it look like it is.
Right.
And that is an actual issue the NFL has to address. If I can go on my little mini side tangent here for a minute. So I've heard Roger Goodell say it, that the NFL, it's a human game, that they like the human element involved
Right.
with it. So that they've always wanted the officials on the field to make the call for the play. Now, I think if you roll your clock back to the year 1998, I understand where the NFL is coming from, because you were watching the game on a 25-inch RCA CRT TV set at home. And it's a little fuzzy and it's a little blurry, and you can't tell where the first down is and the ball is and whatever. Okay, it's 2025, and we're watching it on a 75-inch 4K TV set that takes up the size of your fucking wall, and you have slow motion replay on your phone and on your TV set and in the stadium, and everyone at home knows exactly where the ball is. More so than what the referees do. So you can't fall back on, well, there's the human element, and we kind of like that human element anymore. Dude, at this point, I don't care if the call is coming from the official on the field or someone in the booth or someone in New York watching it on television. I just want the right call on the field. I don't care where it comes from. Get the right call. Someone get the right call.
But I like the human feel when there's human-ish calls. Like, let's be honest. Yeah, according to the textbook, maybe that Matt Stafford pass was an incomplete pass. Maybe. But if you're watching that play, you know there was no intention of trying to complete that pass.
Not a chance.
There wasn't. That was not a pass.
There's so many things that could change, too. We could talk about the face masks, multiple on Sam Darnold that didn't get called. I watched Jalen Carter put his whole fucking hand through. He basically did the Captain Insano, I'm going to poke somebody in the fucking eye, through one of the commanders, because he didn't have a shield over his eyes. I don't know what position it was, probably the center or something. But watch that. The bottom line of it, too, man, like outside of getting referees and doing, like you said, the slow motion replay, which we can all see, guys, we don't even know what a fucking catch is still. That was not a catch from Kansas City. That was an interception.
Here's my thing, man.
100,000%.
If they get it wrong on the field, okay, it's a bang bang play. Hey, maybe that looks like that was roughing on the quarterback. We throw the flag. When you can slow it down and you can see Patrick Mahomes was sliding and the two players collided into one another and did not make contact with him, did not touch him, someone please overrule that and get the right call. I'll give the officials the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, it happened real quick. It looked like he got hit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But that wasn't what we were able to look at it. We're all able to look at it. We can all see it at home. Get the right call, because they have this narrative right now that they're favoring the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's not a new narrative. We've seen it with Tom Brady. You know, for a long time, people felt that Aaron Rodgers calls go in the way of Aaron Rodgers as well, too. And you know, we even said it as Vikings fans, like, defenses are allowed to murder Sam Darnold. They were allowed to murder Christian Ponder back in the day. Like, this is a thing that the NFL has dealt with for a while. And with the Chiefs, it's reaching a tipping point where people are frustrated with it. And I don't know. The NFL needs to address something in the offseason.
But there are some interesting plays, too, that, like when you're watching the Chiefs, and I hate to just sit here and rally on the Chiefs, but there was a play in that last game where Patrick Mahomes was scrambling out of bounds, and instead of stepping out of bounds, he intentionally slowed down and looked at the ref and tried to get that extra hit for a penalty.
Yeah.
And he knew that if he got hit, that flag was going to come. He knew it.
Yep.
I don't doubt anything of what you're saying, Adam. I do think he's trying to, kind of like Bill Belichick knew the rule books so good that he could kind of like cater to it. I think Patrick Mahomes is kind of there because he knows. He knows he's the best quarterback in the league. He knows they're trying to go for a dynasty and the rules favor him. But I have to say, in defense of the Chiefs, if it comes down to your tight end not catching a wide open ball at the end of the game, that's on your tight end. If you're going to attempt the tush push 2 or 3 times in the game and you fuck it up royally like the Bills did, That's a you problem. Yes, the 4th and 1, we can debate it all day, but I still think at the end of the day, yes, Buffalo is much improved, and they've gotten about this close to being even with them to winning a game. I still think the Chiefs are better. And I'll tell you why I believe that. Look at the very last play to ice the game. That is just Andy Reid drawing up the most clever shit at the right time, and then you got Mahomes. He's going to execute it well.
Now, I will disagree with you a little bit. I think Buffalo is the better team. But I think on that day, the Chiefs were better.
I could see that. Yeah, I don't disagree. I like that. I like that Buffalo and Kansas City both had off seasons where like stars left, but they still found themselves back in this game. That's kind of the reason why, like, and I don't know how much you count past success into the current season. That's kind of why I said I personally think they're the better team. Is they don't have the weapons they used to have when the Tyreek was running around or whatever. Kareem Hunt could have been on anybody's team, and he was the main feature running back. Every team passed on him but Kansas City. And
I thought Buffalo was going to struggle without Stephon Diggs.
Same, 100%. And not to mention, Adam, they lost, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, and a couple of secondary pieces. I thought that for sure they were going to take a step back. Josh Allen looked really good all year, and they seem to be pretty cohesive. So, I don't know. I like Buffalo. I still don't – I have not lost faith in Josh Allen at all. And I do think eventually Father Time is going to have – I think Kelsey retires after this year. What happens when Andy Reid retires? Is Patrick Mahomes the same? Does Steve Spagnuolo take over as head coach? Does he take a different spot somewhere else?
Are you still in on Justin Herbert, though?
I mean, I like him. The Chargers committed to him, so I don't have anything against Justin Herbert. I think he's talented. I don't know how we got to Herbert after all that. But yeah, like, I don't know.
It's just everybody always says how great of a quarterback he is, and yet I don't know. He doesn't show up when it's time.
I can take that assessment.
His career path is reminding me a lot of Kirk Cousins right now, where
oh shit, it's accurate, but I personally think he's way more talented than Kirk. But you are spot on.
He is way more talented than Kirk. But I mean, I get where Adam's coming from. Like, I kind of need you to win me in the postseason if I'm going to pay you a lot of money. Otherwise, I can find me a Sam Darnold apparently to win regular season games and shit the bed in the postseason.
But
for a hell of a lot less.
The whole Trevor Lawrence thing is making that Herbert situation look pretty good.
Duval. What the hell were they thinking?
That motherfucker's going to be fired so fast. I can't wait.
When you think the Adam Gase interview had to be the worst head coach thing ever, I look at that guy and I just think somebody stabbed my eyeballs so I never have to see that shit again.
So the Adam Gase high on Adderall interview is like that's tough. That's tough to beat, dude. But this is pretty darn.
It's a new level.
Pretty darn close to it.
Yeah, that was really bad. And Adam found the way to put it in our podcast chat as just the audio. It's amazing. I want to save that and put that on here.
I was hoping you guys would click on it and hope it was me saying something.
I thought it was, and then I played it, and I just shook my head at dinner. I was like, damn it.
And what's the bad thing is that once I ripped that audio off TikTok, that's all I had in my newsfeed when I was scrolling was more versions of that.
Is the NFL going to course correct itself? Sorry to interrupt, but are they going to course correct themselves on what they're paying quarterbacks? Is this going to come back down to reality a little bit, or is this just the new normal on, hey, Trevor Lawrence, you haven't really done anything, but we're still going to give you a boatload of money?
It's conflicting for me because everybody's formula right now is trying to find like the next Joe Burrow on a rookie deal. But unless you're like San Francisco or Dallas where you just want to take a swing and you're like, fuck it, I'll go get this guy and I'll go get that guy. I don't understand why you would pay those guys that when you could do the formula of find one for cheap.
We should be giving more credit to the Washington, their quarterback. What's his name? Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, Daniels.
He had an amazing year.
talk about drafting a rookie and hitting home on that one and having exactly that scenario that you're talking about. Rookie contract, now you've got the ability to go out and spend. Yeah, Washington's in a good place, man.
Shout out to my barber today too. I tried a new place out. My barber's name is Cece. We were talking, and she's like, "Are you a football fan?" I said, "Yeah, I like the Vikings." And she said, "Man," she's like, "I'm glad you didn't say the Eagles. I'd have to mess your hair up." And I said, "No, I hate the Eagles." And she said, "I'm a Commanders fan." And I said, not that you care, but we're going to sit here and have a conversation. I was like, on the base level of like Patrick Mahomes, good, Tom Brady, GOAT. Like, yeah, all this shit you can look online and read. I said, I like the little nuances of football that we don't have a lot of access and information to. That's what intrigues me. Maybe a little outside the box thinking. I said, isn't it funny that piece of hot shit garbage owner got kicked out and booted out, and literally months later, this team cleansed itself of a poison.
Like, immediately.
And was like, Dan Quinn's still really good at coaching. Cliff Kingsbury got the quarterback he needed, nailed the quarterback. And then they took a marginally average team to the fucking NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is, you talk about that, and we're talking too about like free agency opening up, and some of these players that are entering free agency are coming from the Jets, and they're talking to the media and saying, hey, what I want in my next team is stability. I want a stable franchise. And you think that's not asking too much. But you know what? It kind of is.
If you are a free agent, why would you sign with the Jets?
Money's the only reason.
Other than money.
And you could live in New York if you're into that city life.
You would have to pay me twice my market value to play with the Jets. I'm serious, dude.
I keep seeing these TikTok trends. Adam, tell me if you've seen them too, where the guys say, will we have a better career than X, Y, or Z? And, it'll show a quarterback, and then it'll say, okay, you played the same position, you went to college here, you got drafted here, and it'll show some stats. And I always laugh because it says, 33 years old as a quarterback, you're getting offered $140 million. And up until then, I would have said, that's not possible. And then I'm like, well, Kirk Cousins just got that deal. So it's pretty funny you say that. If I was a guy who's maybe getting on the back nine, but a team wanted to overpay, then I'd go to New York and be like, fuck it. This is for my family. I don't even care about football anymore.
So if you're
we give just 1 second of glory to Kwesi Adofo-Mensah for saying, hey, we don't need Kirk Cousins back on a huge deal.
Did he say that?
Well, I'm not going to say he said it, but, he did it.
I didn't. Well, yeah. I thought it
back.
was like a quote. Oh, dude, you had me really excited for him.
But for him to make that decision not to bring Kirk Cousins back, or not even to really put an offer on the table, and then for him to go to Atlanta and do that.
Are we concerned that he hasn't had a contract extension yet?
I couldn't care less.
No.
He's made $250 million in his career. I think he's going to be just fine. I also will defend him because something
Kwesi's made $500 million?
No, Kirk.
Oh.
Kirk's made $250 million.
We're talking about Kwesi.
Oh, my bad. I thought you were talking about. Oh, I'm so sorry. I heard that incorrectly. I was about to defend Kirk for a second. Thank you for stopping me, so I don't have to.
You don't have to. No, we don't got to.
Yeah, I don't think there's any rush in getting him an extension. I guess the rumored 5-year extension for Kevin O'Connell is what went through. Is what I've been hearing.
Yep.
Which is fantastic. I saw that was a done deal, and I don't think there's going to be any real big hang-up when it comes time to extend the general manager. I don't think there's going to be any real problem.
I don't think you can not extend him because the one down year in 3 seasons they've had together, your quarterback towards Achilles, love him or hate him, there are 2 separate sides because one is free agency and one is definitely drafting, and he's better at one than the other so far.
Absolutely.
But he is a part of the new regime that has won, what did they win, 13 games the other year? 14 this year? That's 27 plus 7. They won 34 games in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And he's a part of that, so it's hard to
do
say.
In the NFL.
Correct, and it's hard to be like, well, we don't know if he's the guy. Like, what the fuck do you mean? Yes,
he will be scrutinized heavily at this draft, though. You know that for sure.
As he should be, because that's his weak point. But
good segue into the draft as well, too. So this is something I was thinking about today. Instead of thinking about Vikings football.
That's just scrolling the mock drafts.
Not scrolling, but I was thinking about the Vikings draft order. So we have our first round pick at number 24.
Right.
I'm telling you guys, I don't think they are going to be drafting at number 24, and that's not because they're trading up this year. They don't have anything to trade up. The more I think about it,
They're going
we're
to trade
trading
back with Detroit and take a safety, right?
we're trading back, and we're trading back, and we're trading back, and we're acquiring picks. Like, I think if you were watching the first round of the draft this year thinking the Vikings are going to select a player, my gut feeling is telling me we're trading back and into the second round. Like, they don't have picks. They're heading on back, and they're seeing what's going on day two.
I think you're very wrong.
Really.
I do. I see a defensive back going in that first round almost no matter what, unless that jaw-dropping running back lands somewhere in Minnesota somehow.
We'll see what happens. I just think that they're going to go, you know what? There's too many positions that we need to fill on this team. I know that's the same mentality that Rick Spielman used to have, but I think that this year it's going to hold firm. And
But I
that
also don't know if this draft has that kind of depth that picking up those later picks is going to be worth dropping a early first rounder.
they'll convince themselves that's the right move to make, even if it's the wrong one.
I think I'm in between both of you. I don't think they're going to trade back a ton. I think to get value from the second round that they don't have, they may trade back and get something for a second and a few more. But they won't have to, because you got to think the draft is after the major free agency period by about 4 or 5 weeks. They're going to spend a shitload of money in free agency because they have it.
That's true.
So they're going to be able to fill some of these voids where they might not have to, get pennies on the dollar.
Unless they franchise tag Sam Darnold for $50 million.
I fucking hope they don't.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a solid point too. So if they're able to hit a home run free agency period, which, hey,
he just did.
And if they can have another one, and you think about it too, okay, so it's a 14-win team. A lot of players should want to come play for the Vikings, I would think. They're consistently voted one of the best organizations by the players on that little player scorecard thing that they do. So maybe you look at that number 24 pick as kind of I don't want to say a luxury, but more like you can pick the best available player at that point, maybe, and just kind of go from there.
But I do think the Vikings are entering this offseason with more needs than a lot of people understand. I mean,
yes,
the cornerback room is emptying out. The safeties are going to need some starters there. You could always use a running back. Right now, I'm going to say there's a question mark at quarterback, even though in my heart, I do believe this is J.J. McCarthy's team in 2025. I do believe that. But also, I do see, I don't think there's any major extensions lining up for the Vikings that have to happen this offseason or anything like that. So
no, I don't think so. I think you let Darnold probably go in free agency. He'll land somewhere.
And there are some really good guards and centers in free agency this year that I would love to see Minnesota go after, as well as some decent cornerbacks that, honestly, if you've got to overpay to get a solid young cornerback in Minnesota,
you have to.
I'm good on that.
They've been struggling at corner since prime Xavier Rhodes. They really haven't had a young shutdown corner that you. Hey, Xavier. Yeah.
Not to cut you off, I didn't know you to stop
fine.
talking, but Jeff Gladney's situation's awful. Mike Hughes didn't pan out. Who's the Clemson corner that didn't pan out? Shit, I forgot his name. Alexander. He didn't pan out.
I can't even remember all the corners that we've been through.
Well,
they've tried.
I hope. I think it all starts if Brian Flores comes back, which it's kind of trending towards. But if he does, I think you re-sign Byron Murphy. He had an excellent year. A year two of B-Flow, he flourished. I don't know about Cam Bynum. Mekhi Blackman will be back. He was a mid-round pick, so he might be good. But Adam's right. There's a ton of question marks at corner. I still would love to see an upgrade at defensive tackle. I hope with their money they go after interior linemen. You don't have to get all three, but 2 out of those 3 spots need to be fixed.
And what really hurts is that if you miss on one of those spots, then not only did you waste that capital, but you're going to have to use that capital again to try to get another player, and then hopefully that'll be the guy.
Yeah.
And it's a vicious cycle. It really can be a terrible cycle.
I think Flores coming back really helps the identity of the team. I think for everything that the Vikings have overachieved with this year, I think you really should curb your expectations. There's a lot of people on the same subject. Kyle, you were looking online, people that were saying Dallas Turner was a bust. There's a lot of people online that think because Sam Darnold whiffed the last 2 games that J.J. McCarthy is just plug and play and they're going to be right back at 14 wins. And I got to tell you something right now. That ain't fucking happening. It's not. It's absolutely not happening.
It's best case scenario.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Like it's best case scenario that J.J. McCarthy steps in and plays that well.
Correct.
I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would put money on it happening, but
These young players are going to take their lumps, and in the NFL, there are certain positions where when you come into a team and you're learning your job, you are going to take lumps. If you're a cornerback coming in the NFL, guess what? You're going to take some lumps because some of those wide receivers out there are just too amazing. If you're a quarterback in the NFL, the game goes so fast that keeping up with it, it's going to take you a while to adjust to that. So, I don't know. To me, expecting anybody to come and plug and play at a position like that in the NFL, I don't know. I just don't see it happening.
I kind of hope for quarterback that the Vikings do essentially what we thought they were going to do this year, where we kind of thought like, hey, Sam Darnold will start the season, and if things go south, you got J.J. McCarthy, and he can come in after the bye week and kind of transition and then roll from there. Man.
But who's the quarterback you would do that with this year? Would it be like Justin Fields or something?
Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones, you've already had a look at him for whatever it's worth. He's been on the practice squad.
I have heard rumblings that Daniel Jones has looked awful in training camp and on the practice squad.
Oh, it's like somebody called it. Oh my God. I told you guys he's terrible. He's awful.
If that's the case, then move on from him as well. And you know what?
To his defense, if you look bad on New York with that shitty receiving core outside of Malik Neighbors for 1 year and then whatever else he had, okay. If you look shitty here, it's because you're not good. That's it. It's because you're not. Josh Dobbs was a superstar for like 3 fucking weeks. If you can't beat that, I don't know what to tell you.
Because, I mean, you could bring in old Russell Wilson. You could bring in Justin Fields. You could bring in Gardner Minshew. You could do whatever you wanted to do. But I don't know if there's that guy that can come in here and do anywhere near what Sam Darnold did last season.
You know what would be bittersweet? And to tell them to just duke it out? If Sam Darnold gets no offers anywhere and the Vikings say $20 million, take it or leave it. And then they say, by the way, that doesn't mean you're starting. That means you got to beat the rookie. I think he would, but that would make my heart tickle because you don't have to pay a lot of money for him. But unfortunately, I don't think that's how it's going to work.
There's going to be some team that overpays Sam Darnold to be their quarterback.
Oh,
and I just wrote an article over on the Vikings that estimated him to get like a 4-year, $140 million deal, which sounds absolutely absurd, but $35 million a year is what quarterbacks kind of go for these days.
And I'll say it to this too, man. I said it on a few shows ago, but I don't feel bad for Sam Darnold. And I liked his season. I would never disrespect him. If we got to meet, I'd want to take a photo and shoot the shit. But I don't feel bad for him because of like, oh, well, he was here, there. That dude has made $65 million already in this league for a very large majority of it being shit. And he would tell you, yeah, it was pretty shitty those first 4 years. Take a redshirt year, and now he's I think it was year 6 for him or year 5. So I don't feel bad because he's not going to hurt for money. I see what Adam, to your point, is saying, like, okay, this is what they're going for. Let's be realistic and honest. If he's not going back to San Francisco, and they just don't pull like a Scooby-Doo and be like, surprise, it's not Brock Purdy, we're going with this guy. The best place for him to be is Minnesota. But I hope and pray to God they're not like, don't worry about those 2 most important
depending on who
games
the head coach is, New Orleans could be pretty fun.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. I don't know who the coordinators and the fit would be. That's good. That's still a question mark. That's all right.
Because there are teams out there that desperately need a quarterback. Like, I still have absolutely no idea what the Raiders are doing.
Neither do the Raiders. I was just looking it up. So I think Zach Wilson is a free agent. Maybe that's someone. I'm serious. Maybe that's someone you kick tires with in Minnesota.
I mean, Kevin O'Connell's good, but I don't know how good he is. I don't know if he's that good.
Well-
is he as good as the MILF Slayer?
If we're talking about guys that you can just get dirt cheap to bring in, and you're assuming that J.J. McCarthy's probably going to start anyway, but hey, here's a guy who was also another former early draft pick. Like, bring him in and see what you can get out of him.
I think he's better than Daniel Jones.
It doesn't.
I also
really
wrote an
hurt.
article over on the Viking Age about where somebody said that they would like to see Justin Fields come in and be behind J.J. McCarthy on the depth chart and come in for like certain packages and stuff like that, like he did in Pittsburgh. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't like sub packages.
It's not that. I don't think he's going to accept that. I think he's still so young. I think Daniel Jones is still so young. He'll tell his agent, "Fuck that! I want a chance to start somewhere. I'm only 26."
I still have PTSD from Joe Webb Wildcat packages that I don't want to see a Justin Fields package on the field. I'm gonna say
seen
no.
a Will Levis package. Heyo.
Mr. Mayonnaise package.
I'm gonna say no to that.
Are you disrespecting undefeated on Tuesday Night Football, Joe Webb?
Yeah, a little bit.
How dare
Little
you? How dare you, Kyle? What a Vikings
something else
legend.
kind of crazy? The Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, they've all lost this year. Do you know who haven't lost? Chicago Bears. They haven't lost this year at all.
They haven't played in 2025.
They did.
Yeah.
They beat the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, that's right. The very beginning of the year, the last game. Touche. Sadness again. Hey, I'm going to put this up on the screen so we can talk about it. I'm going to throw the schedule up there. So, just something to look forward to here with a nice little graphic for everyone. The home games and the road games are the same for the first three in the division. You have the Bears, the Lions, the Packers. The road games, which you have one extra next year, they will be in Dallas. They will be in New Jersey against the New York Giants again. In Seattle for the 18th fucking year in a row. What the fuck? I didn't see that. I'm angry again. Why? Why do they keep going to fucking Seattle? Why? Make it make sense. God, that makes me mad. Sorry, guys. In Cleveland, in Pittsburgh, and in LA against the Chargers. So, pretty decent road schedule. Some of those teams are tough. Some of them are not very good.
The Giants are real tough at home.
Oh, that's funny. I think the Chargers would be improved. I don't know what to think of Seattle. I don't know what the hell the Steelers are doing with Russell Wilson. And Cleveland doesn't have quarterbacks, so I'm not sure what to think about that. The home games.
Has there been any news on that Watson thing with the injury possibly voiding his contract?
There's been
anything else on that?
No update, but that is something that they potentially, that was rumored they could get out of. They should just wash their hands like Denver did with Russell Wilson at this point and start over.
I thought you were going to say like Denver did with Brock Osweiler.
No. The home games, these are going to be tough. Outside of it, the Falcons, and they'll have Michael Penix this time, so they might actually be good. All of these home games are not fun because all of these teams are very good. Yes, I'm even saying the Bengals because Joe Burrow quietly threw 40-something touchdowns this year. You're hosting the Bengals, the Ravens, the fucking Eagles, the Commanders, and the Falcons.
Oof.
That's a rough home schedule.
And even that home game against the Bears ain't going to be easy.
I think the only legitimate team that I would feel confident right now, and there's still a whole offseason and draft to go, is the Falcons. That's it. I don't feel confident.
Even the Falcons have some pieces that can be real explosive.
Yeah, we don't know if Michael Penix might be the truth. So,
yeah,
that sucks, man. This is a tough schedule next year. I feel better about the road games than I do the home games. That's not fun.
It's going to be real interesting this offseason to see if... I guess they have said that they plan on releasing Kirk Cousins, right?
I believe that's what I read.
So do you think he'll get an opportunity to start somewhere? Or do you think he's regulated to like a backup challenger role?
He makes a lot of sense for Cleveland. He knows Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
He does. Now, will he take a discount? He's never taken a discount in his career.
Is Atlanta still going to be paying him money?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So then so we're talking realistically, he could take a discount to go somewhere like Cleveland.
Or he could double up.
Oh, he could double up and go to not Oakland. Where the hell are they now?
Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing I was going to defend Kirk on earlier. Now it's kind of presented itself again. I don't think he looks great this year because he's 1 year after an Achilles. I think next season he will come back to form, but the problem is some of the shit that Atlanta had him doing didn't make sense. It's not what he thrives in, and it's like, do you guys pay attention to any of the film on him?
I know what you mean. I hate to sit here and defend Kirk, but they really didn't do a good job of tailoring the system to what he does well. So I don't know. Dude.
I always think it's weird when teams pay a lot of money to bring someone in and then don't have a specific role or anything carved out for them or have really any idea what to do with them.
You take just a power running back like Derrick Henry, and then you put him in a spread offense. You're like, hey, how are you as a receiver? I'm like, I'd rather just run people over. Like, can you? We need you to catch a lot. Like, that's not what I do. What do you mean?
There was a couple teams that did that with Adrian Peterson at the end of his career, and I never understood that either. It's like Peterson.
Take Jared Allen and take him off the line.
Yeah, Peterson was always at his best when he was 10 yards deep, getting a handoff and a head of steam and running forward. And they were okay, we're gonna put you in a pistol formation. Like, what? What are we doing here? Like, what? Why? Do you not know?
This is one of the biggest complaints we had about the Vikings for so long, since they were drafting these players that did things a certain way real well in college. And as soon as they got to the NFL, they were like, nope, this is what you're doing now.
Well, you mean that they played tackle and moved him to guard, or vice versa? Is that what you're talking about, Adam?
Not only that, but other positions and things as well. Like, you played nickel in college? Here, you're on the outside.
Oh,
you played quarterback. You're going to be a linebacker now. Thank you, Spielman.
Shout out to Chaz Surratt. Didn't think he was going to crawl up today. Oh man. Speaking of North Carolina, Bill Belichick signed with my favorite college.
That's insane.
And he finally signed his contract. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. They've already projected a simulation for that multi-team playoff next year, and they've got them at number 11. And I would love nothing more than for just pure chaos to come in when Bill Belichick says, hey, we're going to run a 1960s Cleveland Brown offense. You're going to throw the ball 5 times this game. I'm going to have 17 offensive linemen that could start anywhere in the country, and we're going to run the ball 54 times every game. Are you ready?
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're going to do.
Like, he is 100% going to be like, we are having a fullback, and the fullback is running with the football fucking 15 times. We're going to
have 9 slot receivers.
Yeah.
Basically, all he needs to do is take the tape from Michigan when McCarthy and them won a year ago and say, hey, look, this is what we're going to build here. Are you in or are you out? Yeah. That's all he needs to do. I don't know. I'm excited for college football finally. I haven't been excited for North Carolina football ever, so that's kind of cool.
And if you were a high school...
What channel is the Super Bowl on this year?
What streaming service is it on?
What channel is the Super Bowl?
Because I'm wondering if they got Tom Brady and that team on there. Because I think it's Fox, right?
Yeah, Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady will call the game. Nice. Good for him, man.
I've seen some criticism for Tom Brady, and I've seen others being like, okay, he's just trying to find his rhythm and everything. And I know it's his first year really doing this, but I didn't think he is that poor of a commentator.
Look, a couple times I caught him, he wasn't terrible. He was
you know what I love is, and they've really, you can tell over the years, they did it with Tony Romo. They kept telling him, stop predicting the play. It's making people irritated, which I enjoy.
Dude, that was what I enjoyed Tony Romo the best, is when he was doing that.
Like, hey, here's Marshawn. He's coming up. He's going to do a sweep to the left. You're like, holy shit, it's the exact play that he called.
Because I am a football nerd, and so to have that football mind sitting there going, no, they're going to do X, Y, and Z, and this and that, and here's the formation, and here's what the defense is doing. That's what I want. That's why I've been irritated with the Peyton Manning ESPN thing, because I want Peyton Manning to sit there with a telestrator and be like, here's what the defense is doing.
It's just people chatting while the game goes on. That's what it is.
I can't watch it.
It's like The View with a football game in the background. I'm like, I don't want to fucking listen to this.
I can't watch it.
But it makes it worse because they're 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks talking about it. I'm like, what the fuck? Tell me what's going on with the play. Tell me why the guard didn't pull and he should have. Like,
yes, that's what I want.
But to your point,
Thank you.
for Brady, so they did it with Romo, right? They said, "Hey, people don't like that. Some people are complaining. They're like, just try to give some insight, but don't predict the play." But what I love is Tom Brady can't help it, and nobody's going to tell him not to. When Jaden Daniels held on to the ball, so he's like, "Throw the ball, get rid of the ball," and he'll say it. After like
I
5
love
seconds, he'll say, "Get rid of the ball," and I'm like, "Thank you,
I
thank you
love
so
that.
much." We're all screaming it at home. Thank God the goat
Did
said it. You know what I mean?
did these guys all forget what made John Madden one of like the greatest play-by-play guys of all time so much fun?
Saban's like, boom.
That, but
Brett Favre. Yeah.
it was John Madden getting on the telestrator, breaking down plays, and
Oh
like
yeah.
explaining to you as a fan what was going on. And like everything else that made him funny and entertaining was good as well too. But it was like fundamentally him explaining to you what just happened on the football field was what made John Madden so great. And I don't know why they've gotten so far away from that.
It's
All right, I
about-
got one last thing I want to talk about before we stop, and it's not something that's a lot of fun to discuss, but we got to talk about it because we will probably see Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And now that everybody's kind of like calmed down and been like, hey, you know, Taylor Swift's going to be at the game, before everybody be like freaking out, oh gosh, no. And now it's like, wait, Taylor Swift and Caitlin Clark are going to be at the game. And now, okay, let's got people talking again. So what's going to be the next one?
Whatever they can bitch about, I don't care.
Are you gonna
Taylor
get, like,
Swift.
Sexy Red up there or something?
That'd be fun.
I don't even know if Wes knows who Sexy Red is.
You know how I know? Because I like Zach Bryan, the country singer, and he had her randomly at a show, and I was like, that's not on my bingo card, but that's fun. Hilarious.
Neither was Roseanne Barr releasing a rap song, but it happened.
Oh God, Roseanne. Whew.
But that's all I got. Do you guys got anything else you want to talk about?
I am working the Super Bowl. I'm leaving for New Orleans this weekend. I am excited. I don't know where I'm going to be working at. I don't find that out until I arrive, but I am grateful to be there again. I have to say it because we didn't really declare it and ask on the show. I hate the city of Philadelphia. I will be a grown-up about this and say, yes, to all Philadelphia Eagles fans that hear this, your team is very good, and I acknowledge that. There's no disputing it. I don't dislike your players. You fans are absolute pieces of dog shit trash, and I hate all of you because you take pride in being shitty humans. So I hope the Kansas City Chiefs three-peat because I fucking hate the Philadelphia Eagles fan base that much. I would
They are
rather
not
see.
going to three-peat.
We'll see.
And I hate to be that guy, but yeah, I don't like the Eagles, but I got to give Saquon his props. I want to see him get his ring. And I hate that it's with the Eagles, but I think he deserves it.
I will say they have the better coach and the better quarterback and the better defensive coordinator. Although the Philadelphia absolutely has a better roster top to bottom. And that's what I always lean on. Here was my point earlier, too. Because we kept talking about games being rigged, blah, blah, blah. Nick Wright had this today, and I am 1,000,000%. I have to run with it until I hear something that makes me believe harder than this. He goes, so the games are rigged? That's what I'm hearing? So how many of you made $5 million this year betting on the game since you know the Chiefs are going to win? Oh, you didn't bet on them because you keep watching? But I thought it was rigged. You already know the outcome of the game. So why didn't you just take advantage of that since you know the games are rigged and you could be a millionaire?
I mean, the playoffs you can do that, but regular season, no.
Yeah.
If you think it's going that way, and I just sat there flabbergasted. I was like, he makes a great fucking point. If you think it
But
is
it does seem
already.
like the big moments do tend to lean a bit towards Kansas City. It does feel that way.
Ever so slightly and almost every game. And that we can't ignore, Adam. And I 100% agree with you. I think they're the better team, but I think the gap is closing. And like I said earlier, Andrew,
All right, so Smith's got KC. I've got Philly. Who do you got, West?
Cincinnati.
That's all, folks. Thank you for the show. We appreciate it. No, that's fucking amazing.
No, I don't want to root for either team. It's difficult to pick.
Are you just there for the halftime show?
I don't even care. I don't know, and I don't care if
It's
it's halftime.
Drake, right?
I don't
Is it Kendrick
care.
Lamar?
Kendrick
I don't.
Lamar.
I think so.
That means absolutely nothing to me. uh, I like Saquon. I like Saquon Barkley. I don't want to root for the Eagles, but I kind of agree with Adam. I'd be okay with Saquon Barkley getting himself a Super Bowl ring.
The bad part
I
is that every time I doubt Patrick Mahomes, I get proven wrong, and it's probably going to happen again.
yeah.
I don't care at all. I will be working during the game, so I can't actually physically stream it and add to the number of viewership. But even if I could, and even if I was sitting somewhere or chilling, I don't want to watch the game this year. I'm fatigued out on both of these teams, so I
really don't
care.
I really don't.
That,
think I
let's be
wanna
honest,
watch.
Lewis Seen getting a ring would be hilarious.
That would be the ultimate troll to the Vikings fan base. Hey, not only did your season end in like very unique heartbreak again, but you're that guy you gave up on. He could flip you off with a fucking Super Bowl ring now. That's crazy. Oh
Hey,
man.
Nick Muse might get one too, right?
Oh, that's true. He was on the practice squad. There's your breaking Vikings news for today, folks. Right there it was at the end of the show.
But I know we didn't get a lot of people showing up today because it's a weird time of the football season. But I appreciate those of you who do come and show up. Always nice to have you here. You can check out my work over on the Viking Age, or you can BS with me on social media at MN Viking Zombie, wherever you are. On TikTok till TikTok goes away. Instagram, X, Blue Sky, I'm on all of them.
Kyle, I can never type the word vaguely correctly, so follow Kyle West on Blue Sky at Vaguely Square. I'm sorry, my public education makes me not confident on this platform, so sorry about that. Oh, that's all I got, man.
I also watched a horror movie last night that had JoJo Siwa in it, and I don't know why I did that.
I don't know
But I
who that
did.
is.
You don't know who JoJo Siwa is?
I don't think so. Maybe if I saw a photo. I'll look it up when we get done.
All right. Well, I do want to once again thank everyone. We'll be back next week. We'll talk about what happened in the Super Bowl along with all the Vikings news from around the league. Hopefully there'll be some kind of news going on. I know we'll have some Pro Bowl stuff. Maybe something fun will happen. Who knows? But we'll be back. In the meantime, stay classy,